The whisper within. How Allah still speaks to hearts in the modern world. Have you ever felt a voice deep inside, warning you, guiding you, when the world around you is loud with lies? Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, once said, "In every age without prophets, there are people whom Allah speaks to through their conscience and intellect." This is the story of a journalist who stopped hearing the noise of the world and started hearing the whisper of Allah. What happened next will change how you see faith forever. It was past midnight in Karachi. The newsroom had fallen silent, save for the constant hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional ping of a breaking alert. Ayan Malik sat slouched in his chair, surrounded by flickering monitors, their cold glow reflecting off his tired eyes. The screen before him showed a half-written headline. Local protest turns violent. Chaos erupts downtown. But he knew it wasn't true. He had been there. There was no chaos, no violence. Only a crowd chanting for justice, holding placards and reciting verses of peace. Yet his editor demanded drama. Fear sells, Ayan. People don't click for calm. His editor had laughed earlier that evening. Ayan stared at the blinking cursor, his fingers frozen over the keyboard. He had written hundreds of stories, exposing corruption, unmasking hypocrisy, but tonight something felt different. Tonight, he felt as though his own soul was on trial. He rubbed his temples, whispering, "What's happening to me?" Then, as if from somewhere deep within, a quiet voice stirred, not audible, but felt. "Truth has a price. Are you ready to pay it?" He looked around. The newsroom was empty. He was alone, yet the voice felt real, almost alive. He shook his head, dismissing it as exhaustion. But the whisper lingered, echoing softly, resonating with his conscience. Ayan sighed. For years, he had buried that voice under noise, deadlines, ambition, applause. As a young reporter, he believed journalism was about truth. But the deeper he climbed, the more he realized that truth had become a product, edited, packaged, and sold to the highest bidder. He saved the false draft anyway and shut down his computer. The rain outside had grown heavier, drumming against the glass like an impatient warning. He stepped out into the storm, coat wrapped tight, his mind storming louder than the sky above. The next morning, the fabricated story was on every news channel. The network gained views. Ayan gained a bonus. But when he looked at his reflection on the elevator door that morning, he didn't see the man who once believed in truth. He saw a stranger, hollow-eyed, expensive suit, holding a phone filled with lies. That's when the dreams began. Every night, he found himself in a vast desert, walking endlessly. There were no stars, no sound, only wind and emptiness. He would hear a distant voice call his name, soft, gentle, but commanding. Ayan. He would turn, searching, but find nothing. And then he'd wake, heart racing, drenched in sweat, the echo of the voice still in his ears. He didn't believe in God anymore. Or at least, that's what he told people. Religion, he used to say, was a comfort for the weak. Yet, deep down, he envied those who prayed. He envied their peace, their surrender. One afternoon, while covering a story about an old Sufi shrine being demolished for urban expansion, he met an elderly man sitting calmly near the rubble. The man's white beard glistened under the sun, and his eyes, serene, almost glowing, caught Ayan's attention. "You're the journalist, aren't you?" the old man asked. "Yes," Ayan replied, lowering his camera. "I'm just here to report the demolition." The man smiled faintly. "You mean to report the death of memory?" Ayan frowned. "Excuse me." "This place," the man said, "wasn't just stones and dust. It was where men came to remember Allah. And when remembrance dies, hearts turn to stone too." Ayan looked down, uncomfortable. "I'm just doing my job." The old man nodded knowingly. "Of course. But tell me, my son, do you ever hear a voice when the world goes silent?" Ayan froze. "What?" The man's smile deepened. "The whisper that tells you right from wrong, even when no one is watching. That's Allah speaking to the heart. Every time you silence it, it fades a little more." Ayan's breath caught. How do you know that?" "Because," the man said, "I used to silence it too. For a moment, the world around them seemed to pause. The noise of bulldozers faded. Even the wind stilled. The man placed a trembling hand on Ayan's shoulder. "Listen to it, Ayan. The prophets are gone, but the whisper remains. It is his mercy, a light within every soul." When Ayan looked up again, the man was gone. He blinked, scanning the area, but there was no trace of him. Just dust, wind, and silence. That night, he couldn't sleep. He replayed the old man's words again and again. The whisper remains. The next morning, he found himself sitting on the edge of his bed, scrolling aimlessly through his phone. Then he stumbled upon a quote, one he had never seen before, shared by someone online. "In all periods and times when there were no prophets, there were individuals to whom Allah spoke in whispers through their conscience and intellect. Hazrat Ali ibn Abu Talib, may Allah be pleased with him." A chill ran down his spine. It was as if the quote had found him, not the other way around. He began researching Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, reading his words, his wisdom, his insights. Every line struck his heart like thunder. Your cure is within you, but you do not sense it. Your sickness is from you, but you do not perceive it. Ayan realized how long he had been spiritually sick, consumed by lies, running from truth. Days passed. Then came the story that would change everything. He was assigned to cover a humanitarian crisis, hundreds of displaced families after a devastating flood in rural Sindh. When he arrived, he expected chaos, but what he saw broke him. Children barefoot in mud, mothers sharing their last piece of bread, men praying in makeshift tents. Despite their suffering, there was peace in their eyes, a kind of peace Ayan had never known. One night, while filming under a lantern, a little boy approached him. His clothes were torn, but his smile was radiant. "Mister, will you tell our story?" he asked. "Yes," Ayan said, softly moved. "I will." The boy nodded, looking up at the sky. "Then tell them Allah is still good." Ayan's throat tightened. He turned the camera off and sat down in the mud beside the boy. "Do you really believe that?" The boy smiled. "When my house fell, my father said, 'All it takes so he can give.' So yes, I believe." That night, Ayan wept, not out of pity, but awakening. The whisper had returned, now clearer, stronger. "You've seen truth, Ayan. Don't bury it again." He returned to the city and wrote the most honest piece of his career. No manipulation, no agenda, just truth. His editor rejected it instantly. "Too raw, too spiritual," he said. "People won't read this." But Ayan didn't care. He published it on his own blog. Within 24 hours, it went viral. People from across the world shared it, calling it a voice of conscience in a noisy world. Days later, he resigned from his job. The newsroom that once felt like his temple now felt like a prison. He began traveling, visiting villages, meeting people of faith, writing stories about hope, honesty, and the unseen hands of Allah. Every time he followed that whisper, doors opened. Every time he ignored it, darkness returned. Months passed. One evening, he sat by the sea, recording a voice note for his followers. "For years, I thought truth was found through investigation. Now I know it's found through surrender. Allah guides the heart that seeks him, not through thunder or miracles, but through a whisper so soft you might miss it, unless you silence the world." He smiled, closing his eyes as the waves roared softly. The same voice that once questioned now prayed, "Ya Allah, don't let me ever silence you again." And for the first time in years, peace filled him. Not the peace of silence, but the peace of divine nearness. Ayan finally understood Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, his words. Even when prophets were gone, Allah never stopped speaking. He simply changed the language, from revelation to reflection, from command to conscience, from the tongue of prophets to the heartbeat of man. And in that moment, Ayan realized that his entire life, the noise, the lies, the search was never random. It was Allah leading him back through whispers until he could finally hear. That night, as he lay beneath the open sky, he whispered to himself, maybe the real miracle isn't hearing Allah's voice, but recognizing it was always there. The rain began to fall again, washing away the dust of his past. Somewhere, deep within, the whisper smiled. If this story touched your heart, remember, maybe Allah is whispering to you too. The voice that calls you to truth, to honesty, to peace that's not random. That's Rama, divine mercy. Follow that whisper. Return to your fitra. Subscribe to Deen in Minute for more stories that awaken the heart and remind us, Allah never stopped speaking. We just stopped listening.